Hey, welcome back to my channel. I took a bit of a break, not gonna lie. August was crazy for me. Like I said, it was my birthday. Like right after I posted that video, it's my birthday. And then I had to plan and coordinate everything for the trip that I was taking with my mom. But I fully intended on filming while I was in the UK. And like essentially doing a vlog of everything that I did while I was there. But I forgot that I have terrible social anxiety. And so anytime that I would take my phone out to film something, I got so anxious and so nervous that I just didn't. And also I constantly struggle with like going back and forth of trying to live in the moment, but also wanting to remember things and film things. So I was kind of like going back and forth between that. But in this video, I will talk about some things that we did. I also want to kind of do a review of the 2 books that I read in August because I only read 2. I tried to read more, but did not work out, obviously. And I will also do a haul of the books that I bought while I was in the UK, because the main purpose of that trip and like the reason why we went over to the UK was obviously because of like all of the like historical literature and like literary history and things that are over there. So yeah, that was the main purpose of that. So I will talk about everything that we did and the books that I got. The tour that me and my mom did of the UK was, we started out in Scotland. We started out in Edinburgh. We spent about 4 days in Edinburgh and it was so much fun. It was so pretty. I love Scotland. It was just magical, to say the least. I was unaware that there was a book convention going on while we were there. I didn't really plan that out well, but I did figure out while I was there that Alice Oseman, the author of Heartstopper, was there and was signing books at a bookstore that I was at literally the day before she was there. And so when I figured that out, I kind of got pissed at myself. But, you know, that's my own fault. But in an ironic turn of events, I was listening to one of her books while I was there. I was finishing it up on the plane ride over there. And it was Solitaire. Like every other person on the face of the planet, according to me, I watched Heartstopper season 2 at the beginning of August, and I love Heartstopper. It's so cute. I love my little gay sons. But a character that I deeply identified with is Tori Spring in that show, and I knew that there were books where Alice kind of dived into Tori's story. So I decided to listen to that and I loved it so much. I love Tori Spring. I love Michael Holden. I love them both together. My review literally was, if Tori and Michael have 1,000 fans, I am one of them. If Tori and Michael have no fans, I am dead. Because I love them so much. They're so cute. Tori is me. Like, she talks about how she just kind of like stays in her room whenever she's not in school and she just writes on her blog, which I know Alice could not get the rights to say that it was Tumblr, but I know that it is Tumblr. I see right through you and I know that it is Tumblr. But yeah, that's kind of my little mini review on Solitaire. It was super cute. Loved it. I think I might read some of the other books that she puts out or has put out that are very similar to that, but I'm not really sure. I know I posted a TBR with my July wrap up last month. I did not stick to that TBR. I did vaguely, but I did not fully stick to it. So I'm just going to stop doing TBRs because I am the moodiest of readers and I do not stick to things. So I'm going to stop lying to you guys. So yeah. Anyway, back to my Scotland trip. We saw Edinburgh Castle. We saw Holyrood House. We went on the Royal Mile. It was packed because I didn't know that there was a literature convention going on, but I also didn't know that it was the Fringe Festival, which is apparently the third biggest gathering of people in the world, because it's like a multitude of conventions and festivals just happening in the month of August in Edinburgh. Didn't know that. And we just planned a trip to Edinburgh in August, and so many people were like, "Hey, are you here for Fringe?" And I was like, "Don't know what that is." But I definitely should with who I am, because don't know if you know this about me, but I am deeply obsessed with Fleabag, and Fringe is where Phoebe Waller-Bridge like first premiered Fleabag as like a one-woman show. So I definitely should know what it is, but I didn't. But it definitely seems cool. If I would have known about it, I probably would have planned to like see some shows or something, but we didn't, and we had packed our schedule while we were in Edinburgh because we weren't there for very long. But it was a lot of fun. I loved just kind of walking around. Another thing that we planned, me and my mom, we went on the Outlander tour, because fun fact about my mom is she was obsessed with Outlander when it first started premiering. She hasn't kept up with it, but she watched, I think, like the first 4 seasons religiously. So she loved it. We went on an Outlander tour. We saw the Scottish countryside. We saw all the castles and like manors that they filmed at, which the last castle that we saw was also apparently a castle that they used in Game of Thrones. I did not recognize it, but they used it for Winterfell, according to the people who ran the castle. So go off, I guess. I have not read any of the Outlander books. Because we decided to go on this tour, I tried to start reading the first book. But like I continue to say, still in the thick of reading Throne of Glass. Like I said in my last video, I have started reading Heir of Fire, but the Throne of Glass series has put me in the biggest reading slump. I don't understand how people do it. I see people talk about how they read Throne of Glass in almost 2 weeks, and I don't understand how they're doing that. I don't get what's so interesting, and I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry, Aelin. So sorry, all of the characters that are in there. The one thing that's getting me through that series is Dorian. Dorian's getting me through, and it's just barely. Actually, scratch that. I will say it's not just Dorian. It's Dorian and Manon. Sidebar, if you call her Manon, hey, so why? Hey, so why do you do that? Hey, so why would you call her that? Her name is Manon. Do you not know grammar? Huh? Anyway, those are the 2 people who are getting me through it. And at the current moment, they do not have enough chapters in order to keep me interested. So I'm struggling. But on that note, because I'm reading Throne of Glass, I just simply cannot get into like another slow-paced fantasy book. So I did not continue with Outlander. I think I got like 3 chapters in and I have stopped. Maybe I'll get back into it. Who knows? I always say that, but I do not know. Anyway, that was mainly the gist of what we did in Scotland. We just kind of walked around. We went to a whole bunch of bookstores, which I'm going to break up the books that I got into the countries that I bought them in, that I purchased them in. So this is the haul from Scotland. So like I said, we went to a lot of bookstores. We went to Topping and Company. We went to a lot of Waterstones. And then we went to like 1 or 2 local bookstores. So at the first bookstore that we went to, it was Waterstones, and I got this book, A Ballad of Never After. I did not get this for myself. I got this for Lily because we are both of the opinion that the UK cover of A Ballad of Never After and the other 2 books in this trilogy, their UK covers are a lot cuter than the US covers. So she told me that I needed to find the UK cover of the first one so that she could have it. So I did that for her because I'm a good friend. Duh. The other book that I got these two books at the same Waterstone, is Masters of Death. I simply got this because I kept seeing TikToks about the fan art that is in this. Also, the edges, because I told my mom this. If Fourth Wing has taught me anything, it's if a book comes with cool edges and some fan art on the first print, you're getting it. You should get it. Even if you hate hardcovers like I do, you're getting it. I'll show you the fan art that's in this. Like, you're joking. I had to get it. It was required to get it. Huh? And then at Topping and Company, which was the bookstore that Alice Oseman was at the day after I was at it. So I was pissed. But at Topping and Company, I got this, which I know you're going to say, Jules, you said that you've already read Normal People and that you love Normal People. You are correct. But ever since I read Normal People, I've had an unhealthy obsession with the UK cover. So when we planned our trip to the UK, this was my mission to find. Granted, the fact that I had a mission to find this was kind of funny because it's just the standard UK cover. It's not anything special. So I did find it almost immediately. I found it in the Waterstones that I bought those other two books at, but I was like, do I really need it? Should I actually buy it? Because you have to remember, I have to travel back to the US with all of these books. And I knew that I was going to want to buy more. And there was potentially going to be more UK covers that I wanted that were better, or of books that I didn't already have. So I was like, do I really want it? Blah, blah, blah. And then I found it at like 3 other bookstores. And then finally at the Topping and Company, I was like, fine, I'll get it. But one thing they had at Topping and Company was they had this like shelf full of like collector's editions of books. They had a whole bunch of books. And I was like, they have to have like something that has to do with the Sally Rooney book. They did. They had a collector's edition of Normal People. It was a first edition signed copy of Normal People. And I was like, oh my God, if it's a reasonable price, of course I'm going to get it instead of getting this paperback copy of the UK cover, because it was the UK cover, hardback, green. It was so pretty. And I was like, oh my God, it's signed. It's first edition. Tell me why they were selling it for £600. £600? Sal's, I love you to the moon and back, but £600? Not that much. Not that much. I saw that. I immediately took a picture and I sent it to Lily and I said, babe. But yeah, that's basically, I mean, that's not everything that me and my mom did in Scotland. That is the highlights of what we did in Scotland. The next place that we went was England. So we stayed in Birmingham. And if you're from the UK or you know anything about the UK, you're probably thinking, why? Why'd you stay in Birmingham? We didn't know. We were like, hey, we've already been to London. So why would we stay there again? We've already like done everything that we wanted to do in London. Maybe we should experience another English city. It was a terrible decision. I don't particularly enjoy Birmingham. And everyone else that is from England that we told that we stayed in Birmingham, they were like, hey, why? And I said, don't ask me that. I don't know why. I do know why. Our other reasoning behind staying in Birmingham is it was about 45 minutes closer to the places that we were going in England. So when we traveled, the day we traveled to England, we took a train in the morning to Chesterfield, which that is where Chatsworth House is, which if you know already, that is the filming location for Mr. Darcy's house in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, which I'm sure I've said, and I will constantly say, I love that movie with my whole heart. Of course, I had to go there. Chesterfield is about 45 minutes closer to Birmingham than it is to London. So we decided, let's just stay in Birmingham. Also, we went to Bath because make the connection. If I love Pride and Prejudice, of course I'm going to go to Bath. That's where Jane Austen wrote most of her novels. It is the setting of, I'm 100% sure, one of her books, Persuasion, but it is where she wrote the majority of her books and where she spent a lot of her life, not most of it. So of course I went to Bath. I went to the Jane Austen house, walked around, saw the Bridgerton filming locations. We saw the circus. We saw I forgot what it's called, but like the Crescent, I think, that was used as a filming location in Bridgerton. So yeah, we went to Bath. It was great. It was beautiful. I had moody clouds the entire time because it's England. When is it not cloudy? Yeah, all I can say is Chesterfield, Chatworth's house, and Bath. Amazing. Beautiful. Loved it. Birmingham is honestly ranked last of the locations that we went to on this trip. Didn't hate it, but wasn't like, oh my God, we should go back. We did stop by some stores, some bookstores while we were in Birmingham, because honestly, really the only thing that you can do there, not the only thing, but the only thing that we did while we were in Birmingham, because we were only truly in the city for about a day, is we went shopping. So we went to a lot of bookstores. I got 2 books while we were in Birmingham. The first one, I again already have a copy of this book, but 1, it's hardcover. You know how I feel about that. But 2, I had to get this. It was a book that I just saw in passing while I was walking to the checkout line with my mom. And I was like, pause, gotta get this. And it's These Violent Delights. But you see the sticker? Yeah. Yeah. I have a signed copy of These Violent Delights. This wasn't like Chloe Gong went in and signed a whole bunch of these copies. It wasn't like they got a shipment of signed copies of These Violent Delights. This was the only one that was signed. I picked up this one, and the ones behind it didn't have that sticker, weren't signed. This is one of my prized possessions, next to the collector's edition that I have of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. This is one of my prized possessions. I will never let this go. Thank you to the bookstore in the Grand Central shopping part of the train station. Thanks. Love you, and I owe you my life, honestly. The next book I got was the book that I was just gonna check out with, because another one of my goals was to try and find books that I would only be able to find in the UK, or something that I would not be able to buy over here. I looked at a table that said something like British authors or something like that, and I found this book. It's called I Am a Fan, which this book actually won Book of the Year award at the British Book Awards last year. It is, I'm going to butcher her name. I'm so sorry, but it's by Sheena Patel. This book was amazing. I read it while I was on this trip. So I read it or we were on trains or just traveling to different cities and things like that. So this book is it's kind of more along the lines of Fleabag. It's very similar to it. You don't know the narrator's name. She doesn't have a name. She just talks in third person, or she just talks in first person. You don't know any of the characters' names, random side characters. You know their names, but you don't know the 3 main characters' names. So you have the 3 main characters, which are the fan, which is the narrator. Then you have the main woman that she keeps talking about throughout this book, and she refers to her as the woman I am obsessed with. And then there's the guy that she's like dating, having an affair with. Her relationship with him is the main focus of the book. And she calls him the man I want to be with. I'll show you kind of what like some of the chapters look like. So this is what the majority of the chapters look like. They're about a page to 2.5 pages each chapter. They're kind of like entries in a journal. And she kind of bounces back and forth between timelines, between before she started having an affair with the man she wants to be with and present day to when she was in the thick of the affair to like when they called it off and she became deeply obsessed with the woman she's obsessed with. So it's very interesting going back and forth between that, seeing how it started, seeing how it is now. But also it's just interesting for the narrator, who is a woman of color, to talk about the different experiences between her and the woman she's obsessed with, who is a white influencer and author and just a nepotism baby, essentially. And just talking about how the man she wants to be with treats them differently. And at one point she goes into this monologue about how the man she wants to be with says that he likes what the narrator does for his image whenever people see him out and about with her, because it kind of boosts his image and makes him seem like, you know, a good white guy who's giving the woman of color a chance. It was just very interesting to read all of this and kind of dive into the experience of people that I could never personally experience firsthand. And I liked reading it. It was just a really good book. I really, really liked this book, and I highly recommend that anyone reads it. Like I said, this is a book that I'm pretty sure is only available physically in the UK, but I'm sure you can order it on Amazon and or Kindle or through Barnes & Noble or something like that. I will double check and make sure that you can. But I'm pretty sure you can. If you can get your hands on it, please, please, please read this. It is such a good book. This book also is very akin to Sally Rooney, not at all with the same tone or story. It's just the writing style is very similar to her. Sheena does not use any sort of quotation marks to indicate dialogue or anything like that, which I know a lot of people have issues with. But I honestly liked it. I was talking to my mom about it, and I think that it's a very interesting choice style-wise, but it makes it feel more conversational, and it kind of makes it feel like you're having a conversation with a friend and just kind of having a debrief with a friend. And that was so much fun for me to read and so much fun for me to kind of like get into that mindset. And this narrator is a very unreliable narrator. Like, she's justifying all of these terrible decisions that she's making and all of these terrible actions that she's making. Like I said, she's having an affair with the man she wants to be with. But you come to find out randomly, just like in passing, that the narrator also has a boyfriend that she's been dating for like 5 years. It's just so interesting, kind of sympathizing with this person who's arguably doing terrible things to the people that she's involved with in her life. And borderline stalking someone. It's just so interesting, and I really liked it. So yeah. So we spent the least amount of time in Birmingham. Thank God. Honestly, sorry if you live in Birmingham and like you like it, but after we left Birmingham, we flew out of the Birmingham airport. If Birmingham already wasn't bad enough, having to fly out of the Birmingham airport, oh my God, that would have done it for me. Like, so unorganized. And I feel like I think that about a lot of airports, simply because the first airport that I had experience with was the Atlanta airport, which is, yes, the most intense airport that you can ever experience. But because it's the busiest airport, like in the world, or like the second busiest airport in the world, it's very organized. It's organized chaos. Well, the Birmingham airport was just simply chaos. Also, I don't know if this is just a UK thing or if it's just the Birmingham airport. So on our tickets, me and my mom had to book through, obviously, a UK airline. It's called Aer Lingus, if you know what that is. But so we had to fly with Aer Lingus, which is the Irish airline. Didn't know that until we got over to Dublin, regardless. So there was that. But then on our ticket, it said gate closes at 7:30, departure at 8. So we said, okay, gate closes. That means we cannot board the plane or go into the gate after 7:30. And we didn't think that it was going to be super unorganized. We didn't think that there was going to be a whole bunch of people going through security in late August at 7:30 in the morning, but apparently there was. So we got into the longest security line I've ever seen. But we talked to the security guy and we said, hey, we don't think we're going to be able to make it to our flight because it says gate closed at 7. He said, no, you'll be fine because you don't depart until 8. And I said, yeah, okay. What does that even mean? So he just told us to wait in the line and then they would call us. Like there were people walking around like on the sides of the security line saying like, hey, does your flight take off at 7:55, 8, 8:15, blah, blah, blah. If it does, tell me. So we did. Once they called departure at 8 and we like got into the fast lane of security, everything went somewhat okay. I forgot to take out my Kindle from my backpack. So my backpack got flagged through security and we had to wait. But then we get through security, we don't miss our flight, so everything's good. But I found out that what it means when it says gate closes is that means that your plane gets there at the time that it says gate closes. So then we were assigned a gate at 7:30. Our flight didn't get there until about 7:45. So we were freaking out and our plane wasn't even there. I was like, oh my God, okay. It was genuinely one of the most stressful things I've ever experienced and I hated it. We got on the flight, everything was fine. Our plane, this is going to sound so spoiled of me, but our plane was not a jet. It was just like a propeller plane. So I was like, yo, this is taking me across the Irish Sea. Cool. I don't know why. I was just so nervous. Like, it's a plane. It's going to get me there. It just flew from Dublin to Birmingham and dropped people off. So obviously it's going to make it. Everything's going to be fine. I was just so nervous. And before we took off, the flight attendants were walking down like the aisles and they said, is there anyone in the front that is flying alone and would like to be moved to the back for weight distribution? I said, for what? Okay. So then we got to Dublin and that was our last stop on this trip. We spent the most time in Ireland. We spent about 5 days in Dublin and then 3 days in a little coastal town that's right on the border of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland called Carlingford. And Ireland was so pretty. Oh my God, I loved it there. I drove there. I was the person who was driving us the entire time. I drove through Dublin city center. It was terrifying, but I did it. I drove from Dublin to Carlingford, which was about 2 hours. We drove and saw some castles and some manors along the way. We also went to a little like fishing town and we kind of like saw some baby versions of like those iconic cliffs that are on the west coast of Ireland because we didn't have enough time to make it over to the west coast. What we did in Dublin is obviously we went to plenty of pubs. It's Dublin. What else are you gonna do besides go to some pubs? We went to like the old storehouse, I think is what it was called. That's where we went the first night that we were in Dublin and it was so much fun. We stayed there. We got there so early. First of all, there's one thing about my mom is she will get to dinner at 5 p.m. and then we will go to bed at 8:30. It is exactly what we did every night. I wished that I would have brought one of my younger siblings so we could have gone out and like partied with the Irish because it seemed like it was so much fun, but I did not. Yeah, we went to the old storehouse, which was in the Temple Bar area. We walked Hackney Bridge. We walked O'Connell Street. It was great. I had a great time. We had so much fun. We didn't go to the Jameson distillery or like the Guinness brew house or whatever, the Guinness brewery, because I don't particularly like Jameson or whiskey. And I also don't like beer. So those were two things that we did not do. We did try Guinness, but I didn't like it. I'm so sorry to all of the Irish people. Didn't particularly like it. Regardless, I'm getting off track. Sorry. I made sure that we were going to do is go to Trinity College because obviously I wanted to go to Trinity College. Normal People is my favorite book. Sally Rooney is one of my favorite authors. So we went to Trinity College. We had a tour. We also went to the Book of Kells and like the library that they have on Trinity College. So since everything is so old over there, I always forgot that a lot of the things that they used as like inspiration, or like the people who originally like inhabited either like the library or things like that, were monks or like religious people. So as someone who's not super religious, the fact that everything had to do with God, I was just like, okay, which I know is kind of insensitive, but regardless. So we went to the Book of Keels. It was like, yeah, this is basically just like an old Bible. I was like, cool, sick. But the library was pretty cool. They were doing a lot of renovation on it, so I didn't get like the full like majestic experience, but it was still pretty. Also, because we were going to Trinity College, of course I had to dress super cute and super slay, and I did. I slayed. Took plenty of pictures. Made all of the jokes that I was debating for my besties, Marianne and Francis. Then that same day that we went to Trinity College and like toured that, I also just so happened, my mom, while we were planning this trip, was like, hey, we've got some nights that we aren't really doing anything. And if you know of any concerts or any like comedy shows or any shows that you want to see while we're there, look them up, see if we can get it, like see if we can work around it. And we for sure will go. You will never guess who was performing at a venue in Dublin on a night that we were free. Boy Genius. Yes, it was Boy Genius. And I almost lost my mind. I freaked out and I said, okay, so we're going. We did. Me and my mom slayed. This was like, I think this was the first general admission show that my mom had ever been to. So she was not used to standing for 7 hours, but she stood for at least 4. We had so much fun. The 2 openers, one was a local Irish band that was apparently Phoebe Bridgers, is like one of Phoebe Bridgers' favorite Irish bands. It's called like Yeah Vagabonds or something. They were very good. I loved it. They sang, I think, about 2 or 3 traditional Irish folk songs. It was very pretty. I enjoyed it. Then the second opener was the one and only Muna. I didn't look at who was opening for them when I bought the tickets. I just knew that it was Boy Genius and I knew that I had to go. Then when I figured out that Muna was opening for them, I lost my mind even more. I love Muna. I love Muna. My mom also is now a fan of Muna. It's very funny. My shirt and my mom's shirt I actually made, and my mom's shirt was such a hit. So many people asked her where she got her shirt, so much to where people thought that it was offered at the merch stand when she was like walking around. So when she bought merch for me at the show, the guy who was selling merch saw her shirt and said, oh, so you're the one who has that shirt. And she said, what do you mean? And he was like, so many people have asked me if that shirt is available here, and I've had to tell so many people that it's not, so now I know who's wearing it. And I said, guys, don't worry, I'll start an Etsy. And I will start an Etsy, and I will sell those shirts, because it was such a simple idea. Like, I could not think of what I wanted my mom's shirt to say, but I knew what my shirt was going to say. I did not know what I was going to make my mom's shirt say. So when I thought about that, I was like, this is nothing special. I didn't think it was anything crazy. And then so many people were like, love your shirt. Oh my God. But that show was so much fun. I was so happy that I could experience that, and not only experience that just like in general, the show, but being over there and over in Ireland. It was great, like talking to people who were from over there. I also met someone who had just recently moved over to Dublin because they were going to grad school at Trinity College. And of course I talked to them about it, because of course I have deeply thought about doing that. What do you mean? I am just a girl. And of course I thought about doing that. So then the next day we went to Carlingford, and we just kind of walked around there, saw literally all of Carlingford because it is not that big of a town. We spent 3 days in Carlingford, like I said. First day that we were fully in Carlingford, it was raining. Not pretty bad, but it was just like a steady rain. So we didn't really want to like walk around and like be outside while it was a steady rain. So we decided to venture up to Northern Ireland, because that is where the Game of Thrones studio tour was. And we decided to do that. It was cool seeing all of the props and costumes and sets that they still had there. Because if you don't know, like 90% of Game of Thrones was filmed in Northern Ireland. either in the studio that we toured there or out in the suburbs of Belfast and things like that. So it was really cool just seeing all of that. And then our third day in Carlingford, we just kind of walked around. We saw the castle that they have there. I read a little bit in this little park that they had. Then we decided we were going to have a little night out, me and my mom. And we went to this bar called O'Hara's. We hung out there and we partied with all the people who also happened to be in Carlingford. It was very funny because so many people were asking us why the heck we were in Carlingford. And my answer was always, I don't know. My mom just decided to come here. But even though Dublin was the city and Ireland was the country that we spent the most time in, we didn't go to a lot of bookstores because I kind of like filled my quota of the books that I wanted to get while we were in Scotland and the UK. But I did get one book, not for me, didn't get it for me, but I got this. Conversations with Friends, the UK cover. I got it for Lily because I'm a good friend and she deserves it. I know in my last video I said I was going to be reading the book The Idiot. Sorry to say I did not get around to starting that because we were very busy like doing things and I didn't really have a lot of downtime before I got I Am a Fan, and then I started reading that. So, but I fulfilled my goal of looking hot, sexy, and mysterious while reading a pretentious book because I Am a Fan could be considered pretentious. Updates on the books that I said I was going to read in my last video. Like I said, I'm reading Heir of Fire, slowly trudging through that. I did read A List of Things. I think I'm going to give A List of Things its own video. I just kind of want to give Emma her moment to shine. It was a great book. I loved it. That's all I'll really say about it right now. I loved it. It was great. That's pretty much a recap of August and all the things that I read in August, and all the things that I bought. I had the best time ever over in the UK, and I am so thankful to my mom and my family that I was able to have that experience. I know not a lot of people are able to experience that or even travel internationally, so I am very grateful that I was able to do that and able to experience all of those things. Like I said, I think my next video is going to be a solo review of A List of Things. So look out for that. I appreciate you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great week. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below any books that I should read or any suggestions that you have for like my fall TBR. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Step out, get some in now, let your edge out.